Well, good morning, Water's Edge Church. How are you guys doing today? We doing good? Well, I'm Corey Hise, Newport News Campus Pastor, and I am so excited to be here with you today. I want to say welcome to you guys, whether you're here in Yorktown, whether you're in Williamsburg, whether you're at Indian Creek, whether you're online all over the world, or whether you're at my home campus, Newport News, Hampton. We are so excited you joined us today. Well, you guys don't know how long I have been itching to share this message with you. I cannot wait to see what God does in our hearts, in our lives today. Well, as you guys know, I'm actually concluding a very fun series today called Throwback Summer. Have you guys enjoyed Throwback Summer? I mean, I don't know how you couldn't love it. It has been a great time. We've been throwing back to great sermons that Pastor Stu has given us over the years. The theme verse for this series is Proverbs 4:13, and it says this: always remember what you have been taught, and don't let go of it. Keep all that you have learned. It is the most important thing in life. And I believe that today we're going to draw on one of the most important things in our whole life. I'll actually be drawing off Pastor Stu's sermon from 2014. If you remember, it's called Not Normal Church. Well, to kick us off, I thought nothing would introduce my wife, Ashley, and I better than something that we both absolutely love: football. Okay, maybe I lied. Maybe just I love football, but I'm a huge football fan. And when I say I'm a football fan, I mean I'm always watching. I mean, when it's football season, it's Thursday night, Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, Monday night, and then it's NFL Network the rest of the nights, right? All day. That's what I'm talking about. I love football. And while there is a college team that I'm a huge fan of, and I'm not going to let that cat out of the bag yet, I am a huge, diehard, ride or die, like drive 20 hours to go watch them play type Dallas Cowboys fan. Are there any other fans of America's team in the house? There we go. We got some claps, right? How could you not love America's team? Well, speaking today of the NFL, every year 32 teams enter the season with one mission in mind. There's one mission. There's one goal. Here's what it is: to win the Super Bowl. That's it. And it's the hardest championship to win in sports. There's so many moving pieces, and it's a tough thing to do. And it's kind of weird because every decade, right, there's kind of like one team that dominates. Like, I don't really know why, but every decade, there's like one team that wins like 3 or 4 Super Bowls, and nobody can stop them. In the 70s, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the 80s, it was the San Francisco 49ers. In the 90s, it was my Dallas Cowboys. And then in the 2000s and the 2010s, for the first time in the Super Bowl era, a team dominated for 2 straight decades. And it's none other than the New England Patriots. We got any Patriots fans in the house? You're all bandwagon. I don't believe any of you. But the Patriots, you see, have been led by the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick and the greatest, I believe, sports player of all time in Tom Brady. And you see, when Bill Belichick and Tom Brady started in 2000, they came to build a culture. And their culture was centered around one thing. It was built around winning. And not only did they believe in winning or like winning, but they actually won, okay? They began to win quick. And in 2001, they won the Super Bowl, and then 2003, and then 2004, and then they had an undefeated season in 2007, then they won in 2014, and in 2016, and in 2018. They dominated for a long time. I think they had like one in 20 years where they weren't first in their division. They were a good team. And while they were all impressive to me, the most impressive to me was 2018. Okay, and it was their last Super Bowl run a couple years ago. And I remember what impressed me so much was, in reality, their team wasn't very good. Like, their players weren't very talented, their coach weren't all that. They had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, but that was about it. Some of their best players on offense, the receivers, literally look like they should have been tennis ball boys rather than in the NFL. They look like they should have been competing for Wimbledon, not the Super Bowl. It was a pretty crazy win. But somehow, I remember they won the Super Bowl, and everybody was so confused. Like, everybody was looking at each other, all the commentators, all the pundits, everybody online was like, how in the world did such an average team accomplish something so great? Like, how did such a mediocre team and mediocre people accomplish something so difficult? In other words, it was this: how did such normal people accomplish something so not normal? And the reporters had the same questions, and I remember they asked all the players the same questions and the coaches, and they all basically had the same answer, the same solution. It was this: the mission. Said it was the mission. They said when they showed up 8 months ago to New England to training camp, Belichick sat them all down. He said, "We're not here to break records. We're not here to have great stats. We're not here to get you to the All-Star game. We're not here to get you a raise. We're not even here to win regular season games. We're here to win the Super Bowl. Everything they did was built around it. What they ate, what they drank, how they lifted, how they hung out, how they saw their family, how they saw their friends, when they went to sleep. Everything was built around winning the Super Bowl. And now stay with me. I started thinking that this could be us. You see, because many of us, like these players, we're normal people, right? Like most of us, we're going to finish this, we're going to go grab lunch, we're going to go home, maybe grab a nap, wake up, maybe mow the lawn, maybe watch some Sports Center, grab some dinner, hang out, and then go to bed early because we got a week starting next week, right? We got to go 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, right? We all kind of have the same rhythm in life. Or maybe on the grand scheme, you're the same. Like, you know, it's kind of like, here's how life goes. You want to know? You get a job, you buy a house, you buy a car. Then you buy a nicer house. Then you buy a nicer car. Then you finally buy your biggest dream house. You get your kids through college. You retire, and then you move to Florida. That's kind of the goal in life, right? That's the American dream. We all kind of live the same way. But I have to believe that it's not just me, that somewhere deep down, we all want something more. That we all want something better in our life. That we all want a not normal life. You see, I have to believe that some of you today are here and you're like, I'm tired, I'm comfortable of living the normal, average life. I need a not normal life, a life of meaning, a life of significance, a life of purpose. And I believe that the only way that we can do that is to live a life on mission. To live a life on mission. So the question becomes this: if I want to live a normal life, then what is my mission? Then what is my mission? You see, from Genesis to Revelation, the Bible discusses mission through and through. I mean, we've got missions for Adam and Noah and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Joseph and David and Solomon and Saul and Ezekiel and Isaiah and Malachi and Job. And then we go to the New Testament, we've got it for Mary and John the Baptist and Peter and Paul and all the disciples. But none, to me, stand out more. None are more important or more memorable than Jesus' mission. Let's actually take a look at it. I'll be in Luke 19. I'll read you the whole story, and it'll be amazing to see how God's mission for Jesus comes in to play. All right, it says this: Jesus entered Jericho and made his way through the town. There was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. Now listen, we've all heard of Zacchaeus, right? A wee little man was he. You've all heard that song? Anybody heard that song? Okay, it's just me. Okay, that's fine. But that song kind of tells us everything we know about Zacchaeus. And we think of him, he's just a short dude that climbed a sycamore tree, but it's actually so much more. You see, what we don't understand about Zacchaeus is he was a tax collector, and tax collectors were hated. And when I mean hated, I mean their family didn't associate with them. They had no friends, but they were rich. And you know why? Because the tax collector, they would sit in their booth, and people would come to them, and they would have to pay their taxes to the Romans. So let me set the stage. The tax collectors would betray their own people for money to the oppressor, to Rome. And what they would do is they would sit there, and people would come, and they would bring them their money, and then they would say, hey, I know Rome only needs 10%, but I'm going to need 20%. And they would take 20% from their own people, and they would pocket the other 10. Sometimes they wouldn't even tell them. They would literally just steal their money. So they were hated, and I mean really hated. And he was not just any tax collector. He was the chief tax collector, which means he was the one who organized it. He was over it all. He was the one who made the robbery, the legalized robbery, happen. So trust me, he was hated. And if it says he was very rich, then it means he was certainly corrupt. All right, let's move on. It says, Zacchaeus tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass that way. When Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Isn't that amazing? Zacchaeus, he said, quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. But the people were displeased He has gone to be the guest of a notorious sinner, they grumbled. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, I will give half my wealth to the poor, Lord, and if I have cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much. Jesus responded, salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. The Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. What an amazing moment. You see, this is actually one of the most important moments in Jesus' entire life. Jesus is saying this, juxtaposed to a world that despises the lost, juxtaposed to a world that doesn't care about the far from God. Not only do I care, but this is why I came. The reason I left heaven and came to earth and lived a perfect life and died on the cross and rose from the dead was so that I could come for them. I didn't come to end the Romans. I didn't come to restore Israel. I didn't come to fix the government or reform the law. I didn't come to condemn or to despise. I came to rescue the wicked. I came to forgive the betrayers, to restore the worst of the worst, to love the most hated. I came to seek and to save the lost. That's Jesus' mission. Plain and simple, Jesus' mission is to seek and to save the lost. He is focused and he is determined on that. He was focused on it 2,000 years ago and he still is today. And if we're still here 2,000 years from today, it still will be. That is Jesus' mission and it will never change. You see, not only is that his mission, but like the Patriots, he will stop at absolutely nothing to accomplish his mission. I was trying to think of a way to illustrate this to you, like a great way to explain how just passionate Jesus was about his mission. And I thought of a movie, okay? And it's actually an 80s movie. Who guys likes 80s movies? Right? Who doesn't love themselves a good 80s movie? I mean, we got them all, right? We got Indiana Jones 1, 2, and 3. We got Empire Strikes Back. We got Return of the Jedi. I mean, we got Terminator. We got Rocky 3 and 4. We got Aliens, E.T., Christmas Vacation, and Fletch. Who doesn't love themselves some good Chevy Chase? And then we have one of my very favorites, Die Hard. Who loves Die Hard in the house? I'm about to say, if you don't love Die Hard, then I don't trust your taste in movies. This Christmas movie follows a NYPD cop named John McClane. Anybody know anything about John McClane? Yeah. John McClane is your pretty average, normal cop, right? He is like the type of cop that sits at a traffic stop and eats a donut. Well, that's before this movie. Then they make like 6 about him. So changes after that. But he is a pretty normal guy. And he decides he's going to go to a Christmas party, right, to try to reconcile with his ex-wife, Holly. It sounds like a bad idea, but that's his plan. And while he's there getting dressed, terrorists actually take over the place, and they take his wife, or his ex-wife, and everybody there hostage. And him, being a normal guy, decides to do something totally not normal. He decides that he's going to make sure that he breaks everybody out. Like, he's going to save everybody. And trust me, it is definitely a not normal thing to do. And John decides not only is he going to break them out, but he's going to do whatever it freaking takes to do it. And I mean, he does whatever it takes. I mean, like, he jumps out of a building. He's like shooting machine guns at helicopters. He's throwing bodies out of a skyscraper. I mean, he really does whatever it takes, right? And he does all this. And it's actually kind of cool that all the normal people on the ground and even the hostages, they don't really believe that he can do it, right? They're like, there's not a chance this guy has the power to save all of us. But somehow, some way, John McClane wills it, and he saves his ex-wife and all the hostages, all the while even killing evil Hans Gruber. I mean, it is a pretty awesome movie. Yippee-ki-yay, am I right? Anybody recognize that? Okay, there we go. I was hoping I got some laughs. Otherwise, I was not saying it next service. But it's funny, I know. But in the same way as John, Jesus is willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish his mission. Right? Like, he is willing to go as far as he needs to go, to say whatever he needs to say, to do whatever he needs to do, just for the chance to save you. You see, Jesus came to earth because he absolutely loves each and every one of us. You see, think of Zacchaeus, somebody who wasn't loved by anybody, somebody who was forgotten and despised. And Jesus came just for him. Somebody who thought they'd gone too far, messed up too much, betrayed too many people. Jesus wanted him to know that he came for him, that he loved him unconditionally. So I encourage you today, you who are downtrodden, you are sad, depressed, hurt, abused, he came for you. You who are prideful, arrogant, hateful, deceitful, abusive, he came for you. You see, Jesus wants you to know today that nothing you could ever do would ever make you too far gone, that you are not welcome in his home today. He loves you and he will always welcome you. He is there to save you and to restore you and to forgive you. Luke 15 says, Jesus says himself, that the Father is scanning the horizon for you. He is waiting for you to come home no matter what you've done. You see, this is who Jesus is. Someone who lived his entire life focused on others, his entire life on mission, focused on the lost. Right? And you may ask how, like that was my question. How did Jesus do that? How was he always focused on the lost? And here's how. By always surrounding himself with messed up people so that they might be transformed. That's what he does. That's Jesus. He surrounds himself with messed up people so that they might be transformed. You see, this whole story about Zacchaeus, it centers around Jesus choosing to seek the lost, choosing to seek the broken, choosing to seek the hurting, choosing to seek those far from God so that they might be saved, so that they might be saved. I didn't mention it earlier, but Jesus was actually on his way to Jerusalem to be tried and killed. And normally he would take the quick path right through the middle of Samaria. But this time he takes the long way around and he goes through Jericho just for the chance to speak with Zacchaeus. Just for the chance for Zacchaeus to be saved. So I want to say to you, he's willing to go out of his way. He's willing to go through Jericho for you. He did it for Zacchaeus and he'll do it for you because that's his heart. You see, but it doesn't stop there. You see, when Jesus talks about saving you, he's not just talking about saving you from your sins. He's actually talking about so much more. You see, the truth is, for those of you who have given your lives and your hearts to Jesus, Jesus did not just save you from something, he saved you for something. He saved you for a life on mission, for a life that looks like his, for a not normal life. In fact, I know someone who might be able to illustrate this better than me. Why don't you take a look at the screens?
In fact, Jesus himself said this of his mission. Jesus said, "For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." So just like Jesus, we exist as a church for people who are far from God, for people who have yet to discover God's love and God's plan for their lives. And I'm telling you, this is not normal. This is not normal. Let's think about it together, okay? Let's think about it like this. If a new Starbucks opens, a new Starbucks, who is their target audience? A new Starbucks, when they open, for a new store, who is their target audience? It's coffee drinkers, right? Coffee drinkers. In fact, if you ever go into a Starbucks, you smell like coffee, right? That's just how it works out because Starbucks targets coffee drinkers. If you're a non-coffee drinker, you go to Starbucks and freak out. Am I right? I've taken non-coffee drinkers to Starbucks and they get that deer in the headlights look like, we don't know what to do. Why? Because Starbucks opens new stores for coffee drinkers. Now, follow this logic. If a home improvement store opens, a new home improvement store, who's their target audience? Who are they opening their new home improvement store for? It's for home improvers, right? When you open a new home improvement store, you're targeting people who improve their homes. This is what you're doing. When a new pet store opens, it targets who? Pet owners, right? If you don't have a pet, Why do you go to a pet store, okay? Because if you don't have a pet and you go to a pet store, you're probably leaving with a pet. Are you following me, right? This is the way it works. This is the way it works. When a new sporting goods store opens, who do they target? People that play sports. That's who sporting goods stores are for. People who play sports. When a new Krispy Kreme opens, they target fat people, right? This is how it works. Hello. I love Krispy Kreme. That's how it works. Now, that's the normal way. So let me ask you this. When a new church opens, who do they target? Who do they target? Now think about this. Logic would say, well, Starbucks opens and targets coffee drinkers. And pet stores open and target pet owners. And sporting goods stores open and target sports players. So when a church opens, it targets church people. That's what most people would say. But I say the contrary. In fact, I would say to you, that's normal. But we are a not normal church. We're not normal. There are enough normal churches that exist for church people. We're not normal. Because we open new churches for unchurched people. And just like the house Jesus was in was filled up with visitors, people who were new to Jesus, it is our hope and it is our prayer and our goal and our desire that our houses will be full with people who are new to Jesus as well. This is why we're opening up Williamsburg, isn't it? It's why we're opening up Williamsburg for unchurched people. That's why. That's why today I wanted to say to every person who's ever had a bad church experience, who's ever given up on church, who's ever thought, man, I got a past, I don't fit in church, to every person who has some hurt and some pain, to every person who never saw the need to go to church, to every unchurched, de-churched, don't care about church person, I want to say to you that you are the reason we started this church, and everything we do is for you so that we might fill up the house with people just like you. That's why we exist. And it's not because we think you're like some project to us, and it's not because we think we're somehow better than you. It's because we love you just that much, and we are driven by a mission of a God who loves you the same.
Wow. I really couldn't have said it any better than that. We are driven by a mission of a God who loves you the same. You see, when we give our lives to Jesus, we're not just called to live a life that looks like Jesus's life. We are called to join Jesus on his mission. We are called to join Jesus on his mission, to live a life on Jesus' mission instead of our own. A life that's drenched in love for the unchurched, that's drenched in love for the unconvinced person. A life that is in constant pursuit of the lost, just like Jesus. Ephesians 5:1-2 says this, therefore, imitate God in everything you do, because you are his dear children. Live a life filled with love, following the example of Christ. You see, when we are saved, it doesn't just stop there. We are not just called to be forgiven by Christ or to be restored by Christ or be loved by Christ. We are actually called to imitate Christ, to follow Christ, to represent Christ, to love like Christ, and ultimately to lead others to Christ. You see, C.S. Lewis once wrote, the church exists for nothing else but to draw men into Christ, to make them little Christs. If they're not doing that, all the cathedrals, clergy, missions, sermons, even the Bible itself are simply a waste of time. You see, the church exists, and we as your pastors exist to help you become little Christs, to help you become imitators of Christ in every area of your life, in every single area of your life. But you might ask, okay, Corey, but what does that look like? Like, what does it look like to become a little Christ? And obviously the idea is not that we become divine. The idea is not that we become godlike. But what it does mean is that we begin to look like little microcosms of Christ. That when people look at us, when they hear us, when they talk to us, when they do business with us, when they sit by us at church, when they worship with us, when they are loved by us, that they see Christ in us. That they see Christ in us, that they see Christ through us, that when they look at us, they say there's something different about them. There's something not normal about them. You see, the quickest way to a not normal life, to a life as a little Christ, is not through more knowledge. It's not through better behavior. Heck, it's not even through more consistent church attendance. The path to a life as a little Christ, to a not normal life, is through a change in mission. Is through a change in mission. You see, whether you know it or not, we're all living our life on a mission, right? Maybe your mission is to become a successful businessman. Maybe it's to generate wealth. Maybe it's to have a great family, or to be famous, or maybe it's to live a fun life, or maybe it's to make enough money to go retire, or maybe it's any of those things. Maybe it's even to be a good church attendee, or to make a great impact on the community. And while all these goals are good ambitions, they are not the mission that God has called us to. You see, in fact, God has called us to a very specific mission, a very not normal mission. God's mission He has called us to is simple. Our mission is to seek and to save the lost. Surprise, it's the same as Jesus's. How could we imitate Christ without imitating His mission? And while we obviously can't save someone from hell, we could certainly carry them to the one who can. You see, that's the calling of the believer, guys, to live a life not on our own mission, but on Jesus's mission. To live a life not after what we love, but after what He loves. To live a life not after what we desire, but after what He desires. And that's people. People. That's the currency of God. People. That's what He loves above all else. Heaven and earth stop when someone comes to know Jesus. See, the truth is, some of you have been on the sidelines for far too long. You sat there and you said, God, why won't you use me? God, why won't you save my kids? God, why won't you restore my marriage? God, why won't you bless my finances? And it's because you're living your life on your own mission. You're living your life off your own values, on what you gain from it. And God says, join me on my mission. Join Jesus on His mission and watch what God will do in your life. Watch what He'll do. We are called to seek the lost and bring them to the one who can save them. You see, seeking the lost means intentionally positioning ourselves around lost people. Not so that we can be blessed, not so that we can grow, but so that we can love them. That was Jesus. He intentionally positioned Himself around people so that He could love them. Right? This could mean befriending them, sitting down with them, getting a meal with them like Jesus did. Or maybe it means tangibly providing for them, or praying with them and sitting down and asking them how they're doing. Then on the other side, saving the lost means bringing someone to the one who can save them. Bringing the lost with you. Maybe that means bringing them to church, or having that hard conversation and asking them, do you know Jesus? Or maybe it even means, the final step, leading someone to know Jesus. Facilitating that prayer where they get to go from death to life, because that's the not normal mission that we're called to. That's the not normal mission that you are called to. You see, you might hear all that and say, okay, Corey, I was following you. I was with you until all that, right? Like I don't know about that. That's a little much for me. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the personality. I don't have the gifts or the skills or the experience. And here's what I want to tell you guys today. You don't have to. That's the good news. You don't have to. Because God's not calling you to facilitate them going from death to life. God's calling you to be obedient. God's calling you to have that conversation and to tell them about Him. To tell them about Jesus and what He has done for you. You see, it's not hard. It's not complicated. You don't need a seminary degree. You don't need 10 years of experience. For you old school people, you don't need a Bible tract or a revival tent. What you need to lead someone to Jesus is you and your story. You and your story. You see, the greatest evidence in the world for God is your story. It's not a great preacher. It's not a great sermon. It's not a great church. It's not a great book. It's not even the Bible. The greatest evidence in the world for God is a transformed life. Nobody can argue with how God has transformed you. Nobody can argue with how God took you from where you were to who you are now. You see, when we do that and we tell how people are transformed, like how God transformed me from a self-centered, angry kid to a man on a not normal mission. So I encourage you, memorize your story. Memorize who you were before. Memorize when you became his child. Not when you were baptized, not when you started going to church or starting to tithe or started to volunteer. When you became his child. And then memorize who you became after. You can memorize it in 30 seconds. And watch how when you present that story, how people are drawn to Jesus. You see, if we do that, people may see who Jesus really is. And when people see Jesus for who he really is, they tend to want him. When people see Jesus for who he really is, they tend to want him. And if God moves in their heart, and they do want him, all we've got to do is lead them in a simple prayer to go from death to life. And I know you hear that and you're like, oh, Lord, that's too much. And trust me, it's easy. I memorized it when I was 7. It's as simple as A, B, C. Number 1, admit. Number 2, believe. 3, commit. When someone gives their life to Jesus, what they're doing is they're admitting that they've sinned and are in need of Jesus' forgiveness and grace. Secondly, they're believing that Jesus is the Son of God and that God raised him from the dead. And 3, they're committing to Jesus as their personal Savior and as their Lord. Committing to let him lead them for the rest of their lives. It's that simple. And with those 3 steps, somebody prays that and means it from the bottom of their heart. And they will go from death to life. The Bible says that heaven celebrates. Heaven stops worshiping Jesus and they start celebrating what Jesus has just done. And trust me, there is nothing in this world more satisfying or more amazing than getting to lead someone to know Jesus. One of my best friends, I can still remember the day. I've led countless people to Jesus with the ABCs. But I remember he came up to me in the cafeteria in high school. And he said, hey, tell me about this whole God thing. I don't know. And I remember I got to sit down with him in the cafeteria at school with everybody around me doing craziness. I remember I got to lead him in the prayer to give his life to Jesus using the ABCs. And it's been amazing to watch how God has changed his life. Sometimes slowly, sometimes fastly, but God has changed his life. So I encourage you, memorize your story and memorize the ABCs, and God may use you in miraculous ways. Well, maybe you're here today and you're like, Corey, I may now know how to lead someone to Christ, but I don't know if I've ever been led to Christ. Like, I don't think I know this grace and this forgiveness and this hope and this meaning and this significance you're talking about. Well, good news. Like I just said, it's so easy. Admit, believe, and commit. So like earlier when I mentioned you're never too far gone and you've never messed up too bad, God always wants you and he wants you today. So if you want to pray that prayer with me, you can pray it with me right now. But actually, before I do that, for you people that do know Jesus, why don't you pray it with them and just listen and be a part and realize just how easy it is to lead someone from death to life. And then maybe, just maybe, you can take it home. Let's pray. Dear Jesus, I want to know you. I admit that I have sinned and I want my sin forgiven by you. I believe that you are the Son of God and that God raised you from the dead. I want to be made right by God in heaven through you. I commit to you as my Savior and as my Lord. Lead me for the rest of my life, and I will live my life for you. Jesus, thank you for everyone in this room who just prayed that prayer to go from death to life, that just became your son or your daughter. I ask that you would bring them your comfort and your peace. You have called them to be yours, and they are yours forever. And for everyone in this room who's living their life on their own mission, I ask that you would call them and compel them to live their life on your mission, seeking and saving the lost, to live a not normal life, a true life of significance and meaning and purpose. We love you. Give us the courage and the bravery to have those conversations with people who don't know you. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.